How can Jimmy Kimmel live with him? Like, Jimmy Kimmel is a talented guy, and I don't think he's like an evil person or something, but he's made this deal where he just serves power and attacks anybody who challenges power. Like, how can, honestly, how can he look in the mirror and say, I'm doing something honorable? Like, how can he live with himself? How can his wife sleep with him?
Well, it'd be
I mean
it'd be one thing.
He's had a real problem with Elon from the beginning of this thing, but it's like he's in this leftist thought bubble. He is in the most leftist thought bubble available, which is Hollywood.
Jimmy Kimmel thought he was untouchable until Joe Rogan and Tucker Carlson turned him into a walking punchline. One minute he's cracking jokes, the next he's catching verbal haymakers from two guys who don't do filters or forgiveness. Rogan calling out the cringe, Tucker's grinning like it's Christmas, and Kimmel, he's somewhere backstage rethinking life choices. This isn't just a roast. It's a flaming dumpster of brutal truth and zero mercy. Buckle up, it gets gloriously messy.
Other equally is joking about each other indiscriminately. So yeah, I think comedians who, and this is why so much of comedy is not funny today. It's my chief criticism of like late night comedy, which I find unwatchable. I think it's totally unwatchable.
But also contemptible. I mean, they're collaborators.
They're just like the fact checkers. They're guardians of the.
There's something oddly satisfying about watching a late night host gets served cold justice by two men who don't even acknowledge each other's existence. One's a former MMA commentator with a podcast empire built on elk meat and conspiracy theories. The other's a cable news renegade who left a smoking crater where Fox News stood. Odie, and in the middle is Jimmy Kimmel, flailing like a dad at Coachella trying to prove he still knows what TikTok is. The saga didn't start bang, it started. Imper a few tired jokes from Kimmel, stitched together by a team of writers who clearly stopped trying after Trump office. EFTA, late night monomachine. Chine, once mildly entertaining, had devolved into a 5-minute corporate TED Talk interrupted by app signs.
Chance in hell that this is funny or gonna work. And when you see those flat, corny, late-night monologue jokes with no audience, Colbert, there's Jimmy Kimmel, there's Fallon. What they're doing is just like reading off of a teleprompter, so a bunch of really good joke writers wrote them some stuff, and then they're playing to the audience, and the audience is like laughing, so they get this feedback, and they know how to do that. They stand there, and there's applause signs. And then there's producers. There's the warm-up guy that's literally telling people to clap. They're like, okay, explaining to the people, okay, when Jimmy comes out, I want a big round of applause.
And when Joe Rogan and Tucker Carlson finally turned their attention to this mediocrity, they didn't need a chord a K-down. Kimmel's brand of smug comedy practically dismayed self. Rogan, and Carlson just brought the fare up. First, Rogan, the man who made a career out of his scientists, and comedians, idiots, and people who swear Bigfoot is real to speak freely for 3 hours straight on a recent episode Oddcast sandwiched between a discussion on DMT and why modern shoes are ruining our arches. Rogan casually torched the concept of magnanimity. Names he didn't have to when you describe a washed-up host who delivers reheated political zingers written by interns and pretendagy. Barry, there's only one person whose tears teleprompter. Rogan's disdain was delictive. Why vague like? A fine wa passivus AAGGR, scorn.ehe corn he mock sterile scripted for latif, late night shows without needing to hold up Kimmel's name. Like a trophy, the comedy Rogan promotes lives in discomfort tangents, and guests who say things you're not supposed to. Kimmel's version, safe sarcasm with a studio audience trained like Pavlov's dogs. If Rogan's podcast is the Wild West of ideas, Kimmel's show is a Disney cruise sponsored by Flushots and Correctness.o. The correctness, the real jab, came in the Rogan rast. Rogan, the man vilified for questioning pub narratives, is pulling 11 million Dow episode. P. Kimmel. Sode Kimmel, the jester, is hemorrhaging viewers like a busted boat tank.
His job wasn't to be a comedian and to do that, but his job is to be he's supposed to be funny. And comedians are supposed to hold people in positions of power accountable.
Yeah. To the people in charge.
Exactly.
He's their Praetorian guard.
Yeah.
And it's like the self-hatred he must feel, because he wasn't always, that's my point. Yeah. I mean, Colbert has always been a hard partisan, talented guy, but obviously he's not a comedian. But Kimmel was a comedian. Like, how does he, I don't understand.
I don't know.
How he can sleep.
He might buy into the narrative to the extent that he thinks it's morally wrong to joke about these these certain topics.
But it's not just that. He's like pouring hot oil on the peasants from
While Kimmel throws suit, E in a suit, Rogan shrugs it off in a hoodie, and laughs his way to a $200 Dow. Potify deal the absurdity PR, ACTICA itself. I won itself one truth seeking we hand. ET in hand, the other delivers punchlines with the zest of a Hotel AO player, Eono player, and Tucker. Tucker, the king of cable chaos turned so sniper.eifa sniper if Rogan roasted Kimmel with contempt. CK contempt Tucker Carlson lit him on fire with a grin and walked away humming music post. Fox Tucker has embraced his in-knee outlaw.ta. No outlaw, no regulations, Galatians no more executive producers pretending they control Tucker, Tuck webcam, Ebcam, and a vendetta against every talking head still clinging to their SHA card in one of his VI segments. ENTS. Tucker unloaded a monologue that sliced through the Hollywood hypocrisy like a warm chainsaw through tofu. Without ever giving Kimmel the dignity of Ben he eviscerated the exact type of host who masks elitism behind Ken laughter. Late-e night comedians. NS Tucker Geed, Ed have become humantal prompters, regurgitating safe content approved by studio execs, sponsors, and focus groups. Again, no names needed. When the shoe fits that tightly, it chokes off the blood flow.
hot oil on the peasants from the parapet. Like he's hurting anyone who challenges the king. It's crazy.
It is crazy. It's upside down. The comedians should be poking holes in the popular narrative, not propping it
Jimmy
up.
Kimmel is. Like, truly. No, I mean it.
You said it,
no
not
amount
me.
of money is worth what he's doing, in my opinion.
Yeah, but it's how they control speech and thought. It's how if your worldview is incoherent and impossible to defend rationally,
Yes.
then you have to insulate it from criticism. And what's the most effective kind of criticism there is? I think it's mockery, which exposes foolishness for what it is.
It wasn't about ratings, it was about relevance. Carlson pointed out gleefully that these so-called rebels of comedy spend more time endorsing pharmaceutical products than telling actual jokes. The supposed kings of satire now sound like walking disclaimers. Kimmel, once a rogue voice in comedy, now performs like he's auditioning for a position at the CDC's birthday party committee. Meanwhile, Tucker's following exploded unscripted, unfiltered, and utterly unconcerned with the approval of the very crowd Kimmel panders to nightly. The beauty of this takedown is that neither Rogan nor Tucker ever shared a stage. They didn't coordinate a hit job, they just happened to shine a flashlight on the same soggy corner of showbiz where Kimmel was busy tap dancing in a puddle of his own ego. Rogan laughed at the absurdity, Tucker dissected it with precision. Together, without ever meeting, they engineered one of the most glorious tag team obliterations in recent media memory. What makes it even worse for Kimmel is how preventable it all was. He could have stayed funny, he could have avoided becoming the punchline. But somewhere along the way, he traded charisma for claptrap and comedy for corporate approval. Now, instead of making people laugh, he makes them check the time. And thing. Rogan didn't need to directly insult Kimmel. All he had to do was embody everything Kimmel abandoned: authenticity and unpredictability. The courage to offend Carlson didn't need to mention Kimmel at all. He just had to contrast the hollow performance of late-night satire with his own brand of explosive, if occasionally.
I was mistaken about this. It's something I admit I was wrong about, is when early on, when we first started getting fact-checked and we first started having these issues with censorship with the Babylon Bee, it was my belief that these were humorless scolds who just didn't think our jokes were funny, and they thought they were offensive and they were being hypersensitive, and that's not the case.
No, it's not. You're going through the stages of realization.
The stages of realization. I eventually learned and came to realize that it's not humor. Humor is a vehicle for truth delivery. They don't like the fact that the narrative is being challenged in a way that's effective, and so
the narrative is being challenge-effective, waffective, CTFAV, KTivanSoUp.e, the RESULTP. Who the result? The result: Kimmel looks like the unfunny middle manager at a Christmas party trying to DJ. Even though their audiences are worlds apart, Rogan's fans are fiercely loyal, tattooed, and proptiker minting tuck around Kambukkrabid, Kamim viewers rabbed, Pimkali rabid meme-wielding insomniacs, Humach Kimmelipi audience, Erich Glada Kimmelach audience are audience people who fell asleep with the remote view, it itend or got lost contest. I view itm listen. This not contest conticles, ol, it ion.mo. This on this wasnik. AR of equals, it grills. One-sided roast, cooked on TW grills. Rate grills. Rogan smoked him low and slow with dry sarcasm. Tucker flambeed him with righteous indignation and a side of smugness. Kimmel just stood there. The human embodiment of please. Clap as both men continue to dominate their spheres. Kimmel remains stuck in a format. Pedelson cable news escaped from comedy. HIP Dells peddles politics under the Guy comedy. Comedy Rogan explores psychedelic consciousness and feral pig attacks. With astrophysicists and Tucker gleefully drops vid bunker. Becitrum a room that looks like a roasted, uncurred.buiter. It's not just the stereo L roasted. Stead it's left he was roasted stereopodcasts, and voice, from Tleft FT Libertarian Chaos Oppo of post-cable media, from the right William N. Rage Matchy of post-K-part media, and somehow Botman, N. Ideologically mile apart, failure.nd. Common ground in the fertile soil of Kimmel's failure. That's not a coincidence. That's a red flag with a laugh track.
Case, you think that's him or a writer? Can't you tell?
Jimmy Kimmel?
Yeah.
No, it's him, for sure.
Okay.
Yeah,
That's
definitely.
good. That's a good one.
He's a comic.
Yeah, that's a good one.
I mean, he used to host The Man Show. I mean, he's done some pretty outrageous shit back in the day.
Yeah.
You know, for he-he's and ha-ha's.
No, that's a good joke on top of a good joke.
Yeah, it's a good joke. Funny thing to say. He's had a real problem with Elon from the beginning of this thing, but it's like he's in this leftist thought bubble. He is in the most leftist thought bubble available, which is Hollywood. And, you know, and I think also, you know, he famously, there's some videos of him in blackface, and those came out, and he had apologized for them, and I think he took that hit and, like, really doubled down the other direction. I mean, that's just speculation. But he, you know, now is a guy that goes after people like Elon Musk.
Yeah.
Which is, you know, Elon is thought of as being, because he's willing to put people on with uncomfortable opinions, and he's releasing people that were banned from Twitter because of things that they had said. He's like, as long as you haven't done anything illegal.
Roga Kimmel unfortunately, Oval Tucker doesn't ask for forgiveness. Kimmel, unfortunate L building.ck, hissing laughs from a crowd that already left the building, Heisek expired, a time capsule of a political mouth, NT that's long expired, and every time he opens his mouth, it's wink. Watching someone try to sell expired milk with a wink. So here's the kicker. Joe Rogan and two Joe or Carlson Cowback T, be a conspiracy anti. If they tried Joe's the laid-back conspiracy-friendly mixed martial arts P-gods themselves, with a Tucker. A2 Fesmug, the smirking Amistache Chef Tucker, the smug Spravoca Turch twirling, political provocateur, who got booted from Fox News but somehow came back stronger than a cat, with 9 lives their ideologist board. A sights on the political chest-boned. Ike fire, broccoli, or broccoli, and well still kind.occ yet but. A different kind yet somehow, these two completely different beasts have zero thing.la. Jimmying on one thing. Jimmy Kimmel's brand of comedy is a fossil, an endangered species, an exhibito hind glass labeled, do not T2015. Kimmel, since 2015 Kimmel's comedy is the theatrical equivalent, off-pattern, e-wall safe, sanitized, AF corporate approved, 8 approved, and just dull enough tosk. You ask, did I just watch a comedy show or a commercial, RSIL? The poor guy I lit a late-night dinosaur Trion roar but all anyone hears, ICOUG.OU. His jokes, errant punchlines, nether memo-approved statements on vaccine mandates and woke politics, served with a side of awkward fake laughter and that dead-eyed smile, that's Cream's S. I'm paid to pretend this is funny.
A lot of people who are like on your side because they're for free speech, who are not actually for free speech at all, who are pushing a very specific foreign policy agenda, for example, and using another issue to lower your defenses and let themselves into your brain. And I think that's really sinister. Really, really, really sinister. And it's becoming more obvious now. Like, if you're for free speech, then you're just for free speech because you support the principle. It doesn't, the content of the speech is...
Now Rogan and Carlson, they're the exact opposite. They are the chaotic good and chaotic neutral forces tearing apart the old-school late-night mold like it's a piñata full of outdated punchlines. Joe's podcast is like the Wild West of free speech, long, winding conversations about everything from alien conspiracies. 2. Why kale is the devil's salad, it's messy, it's raw, and it doesn't give a damn if a corporate sponsor gets nervous. Meanwhile, Tucker's postbox grind is all about short sharp, viral hits, a digital sniper that takes aim at the very fabric of Kimmel's carefully scripted world. No canned jokes, no laugh track. Just cold calculated snark, and the kind of smirk that could slice through steel. The audience shift couldn't be more brutal, while Kimmel's stuck delivering 5-minute monologues with all the energy of a guy reading the terms and conditions on a software update. Rogan is hosting 3-hour episodes that dive deep into topics people actually want to hear about. His freedom to explore, question, and occasionally just ramble about DMT trips has earned him a cult-like following. Tucker's no slouch either. His viral clips flood social media, racking up millions of views faster than Kimmel can say. Pharmaceutical partnership. Kimmel's viewers, they're either asleep or have drifted off to greener pastures where comedy doesn't come with a side of virtue signaling and a sprinkle of corporate guilt. He's basically the late-night equivalent of a rotary phone. In a world of iPhones, nostalgic for some, but wildly obsolete for most.
Job description of a comedian is not so different from the job description of a journalist, as traditionally constituted. Tell the truth about the powerful. Comedians are usually a lot smarter, more clever, and incisive than journalists, but that's what they're supposed to be doing. Almost none still do. Adam Carolla is one of the very few remaining comedians in the United States. He's out with a new book called
But here's the real comedy gold. Kimmel didn't just fade quietly into irrelevance. No, this was a spectacular facepalm-worthy self-immolation. First, he mocked everyday Americans for not getting vaccinated, only to watch half of those same Americans turn off his show faster than you can say canceled. It's like telling your friends they're idiots for skipping leg day, then tripping over your own shoelaces on the treadmill. Epic fail. Then there's the time he tried to clown Rogan. Oh, the irony. Kimmel's sharpest jab was basically a second-hand insult he picked up from some writer room brainstorming session, while Rogan responded with a detailed breakdown of why Kimmel doesn't actually research anything before calling people out. Spoiler alert, Rogan's the guy bringing real doctors and scientists on to debate, and Kimmel's the guy who brings on a celebrity guest who just starred in a movie about a talking dog. And don't forget when Kimmel took a shot at Tucker for getting fired from Fox News, as if that was a career-ending scandal. Meanwhile, Tucker went full Phoenix mode, ditched the corporate leash, found a massive new audience on social media, and now has more cultural relevance than Kimmel's whole monologue archive. It's like watching a toddler try to dunk on LeBron James and getting posterized every time. Brutal.
Obscurity. Nobody's going to care anymore. It's like you're seeing it take place with late night television. Nobody gives a fuck about it anymore.
I know.
And it's slowly, you have a bad business model and you're not adapting.
Yeah, the creativity's gone for late night comedy, right? Like, that's not really a thing.
The big lesson: Rogan and Tucker figured out the comeback formula. Kimmel never bothered to learn. Joe built his empire from the ground up, starting with a tiny garage studio, a bunch of weed jokes, and a raw, unfiltered approach that hooked millions. Tucker rebuilt his brand from the ashes of corporate exile, transforming into a digital age media powerhouse who doesn't need a TV contract to be heard. Meanwhile, Kimmel, he's stuck in a time loop, reading off cards about Trump jokes from 5 years ago and pretending that being edgy means repeating the same tired punchlines while sitting behind a desk sponsored by Big Pharma. If comedy was a battlefield, Kimmel's still waving a white flag while Rogan and Tucker are launching verbal grenades. The ultimate irony is delicious. Kimmel tried to punch up at two giants from opposite sides of the arena, and in the process, he managed to punch himself square in the career. It's a roast nobody asked for, but everyone's watching the guy who tried to mock Rogan's dangerous ideas, and Tucker's fired for a reason. Status just ended up getting schooled on how media disruption really works. So no, Rogan and Tucker didn't need to team up. Their destruction of Kimmel was a natural collision course, like tectonic plates grinding beneath the surface until the whole fragile late-night comedy world cracked wide open. Kimmel became the cultural eye roll at the center of it all. Too safe, too scripted, and too out of touch to survive a media ecosystem that now prizes authenticity, unpredictability, and a little bit of chaos. And let's be honest, watching Kimmel try to keep up is like watching a mime desperately trying to talk. It's awkward, embarrassing, and you can't look away. The damage is permanent. Rogan's audience didn't just laugh, they nodded in knowing agreement. Tucker's fans didn't just cheer, they turned it into a meme, a movement, and probably a poorly spelled T-shirt. Kimmel, he kept reading from the cue card, blissfully unaware that the people he used to mock are now doing it better. What's left of Kimmel is a cautionary tale with a studio band, a once funny man now reduced to a human bumper sticker for whatever cause fits that week's poll numbers. He's not edgy, he's not funny, and thanks to Joe Rogan and Tucker Carlson, he's not even safe from ridicule anymore. Because here's the final punchline: neither of these guys were trying to destroy Jimmy Kimmel, they just told the truth, and in a world where Kimmel's truth is whatever gets clapped at before commercial break, that honesty might just be the cruelest joke of